All right, and welcome to case study number 14 of this series, so brilliantly titled Kirk's 40 Case Study Closings. I'm your host, Ryan Kirk, and these case studies range from vacant lots to custom luxury homes and total $2,042,081.71 in profits and equity. Without having to personally go see the property on some, and with no cash, no credit of my own, it varies, and I'll explain. And I do it all with Flip Logic and 1-888 cash offer. Now let's get into number 14 of the 40 case studies. And that brings us to 1737 Beryl in San Diego, California. You'll notice from the photo, that's the after photo. So the after repaired photo, once the remodel was completed. I couldn't grab a before photo. The lead type on this, it was standard sale, property that had gone vacant. It was a major rehab, and we found it because it was on the MLS. So you could originate that same or duplicate that same type of origination, lead origination, if you go to instant leads in Flip Logic and you run a by agent search. You would have been able to find that day in that market. All right. So the seller's motivation on this was just to cash out, and we had determined the ARV to be about $885,000. The repair costs we placed at $35 a square foot. Again, going through these case studies, I know you're going to see this price per square foot swing, and that does have to do with the ARV and the ARV and the condition of the property, right? The higher the ARV, buyers in those higher ARV price ranges, they're choosier. They want higher end finishes, and that requires more money because you've got higher cost of materials. So the three things that really play into it are going to be cost of labor, cost of materials, right? The condition of the property, and the ARV of where it's at, and you kind of have to. As you start going through these, you kind of see a pattern, and you have to estimate as best you can, and then that gets confirmed during your inspection period, your refundable due diligence period. When your investors go through the property with their general contractor, they come up with their hard costs via a scope of work and a bid, and then they will confirm to you whether they can pay the price that you're asking. And they can also give you some feedback on those repair costs. And you have to take that with a grain of salt, because a lot of people, investors included, are going to pad their numbers. They're going to inflate their numbers. That's just what they do. Most of them. You'll find some that are very transparent, very straight shooters, but everybody typically likes to pad their numbers a little bit. So you have to kind of read between the lines and use some common sense as well. And it's nice to get feedback from those investors after their project's done too, to ask them, how their repairs ran. So on this project, we had placed it at $35 a square foot, and the $35 a square foot came out to $87,000. So that's a good range, and we have that programmed right into Flip Logic. You can see that on the slider, how much you should budget if it's a major rehab and you got to go in and you got to touch everything like this one. So it's typically somewhere around $35 a foot. It can go up to maybe say $40 a foot to be on the safe side, and that's, again, it's a total beater. You have to go in and touch everything. When you start going over the $1 million price point for ARV, that's when that $40 a square foot can sometimes that will work, or other times it could go up as high as say $60 a square foot. So there you have it. So this is how the numbers played out. We got it for $690, and we used the law of reciprocity again. That's always a good go-to when negotiating with sellers. If I were to pay all cash, pay all the closing costs, and close on the date of your choice, what's the best price you can do for me? And in this case, best we could do was $690. Our investor paid $700,000. The reason why I've got a profit of $5,000 in there is because the investor came from another wholesaler, and we ended up splitting that profit with them. So not a deal for the record books, but nonetheless still a deal, right? And so again, that investor, as you see there, they came from another wholesaler who was on our list. So you can also have found an investor or that wholesaler by running the instant leads for buyers and just running it in that area. And then you could put in, you could put in cash buyer, real estate investor, rehabber, renovator. Those are just some keywords that you could use. Real estate agent, wholesaler, if you wanted to push the deal out to all of those criteria types. When you get into agents and wholesalers, those are people that are going to, they're going to need to be compensated. And the way that you can market it to them is you can always include, agents, wholesalers, lenders, friends, please add on your commission or fee to the price. So then that way they can market it to their list or to their buyers and clients, and then they can let them know that there's a fee in addition to the pro forma and the asking price that you've packaged and marketed to them. All right, and then we got the funding that we used. We just put it under contract, and we used an assignment to assign it to the investor, and then they closed with cash, or they closed using cash and a combination of hard money. And that's how that closing took place. As far as any cash required on the deposit, again, you've heard me talk about this before. Pretty much every purchase contract, and even our standard purchase contract in FlipLogic that you can use to generate an offer for, and you can use that in any area, any city, any state. It's boilerplated for 3 business days, and you can always extend that to 5 business days, and that will give you almost a week as far as calendar days are concerned to market the property without having to put any deposit into escrow. So that's how you can buy yourself more time on that, because then if you can locate an investor, have them interested, have them committed by an assignment, then they can go ahead and wire the deposit without you ever having to put a deposit into escrow. So literally requiring $0 of your own to have to do the deal. So that's how you can get around that, because sometimes using small deposits weakens the offer and can prevent you from getting into contract. So I think it's best to use a balanced approach and to do, say, a deposit obviously that you can do, and then up to 1% of the purchase price, because that's still a strong deposit. And in this case, if we were to do that, that would have been a $6,900 deposit. You could always do, say, $1,000, which again is on the low side at this price point. Other smaller purchase prices, $1,000 would be fine, $500 would be fine. So you kind of have to find the balance there in your market, or at least for that deal and the price range of that deal. So again, $500 to $1,000, up to 1% of the purchase price. And you can keep the 3 business days. It's good if you extend it to 5. Most will not call you out on it, or most, I should say, will not counter you on that. And so it gives you adequate time to do your due diligence and have your buyers do their due diligence, and then only having to wire the money in when you need to, or if you need to buy more time if you don't have a buyer lined up yet, or maybe you've discovered during that 5 business days, 7 calendar days, that it's not going to be a viable project whatsoever for whatever reason. You can cancel, and then it'll save you, the wire transfer fees from wiring your deposit into escrow and then having to get it back. All right. So again, only 10% of YouTube videos are watched until the end. So if you're in that 10%, you're a hustler, persistent, determined to succeed, and I really do wish you much success. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to working with you.